Boat lovers, today we're working on a 37-foot Luhrs. The customer states that the starboard does not want to shift, so we're here to determine what's wrong with it. Stay tuned. All right, guys, we're on board, and control head needs a little bit of tender loving care on this one, but I have to tell you, no matter what conditions they look like, the product still works. So we're going to turn on the control system. You can see the system comes live. Going to forward, warm, I mean. And we move forward, so the indicators on the control head are working. We have a good stiff positive detent on each one of these, which is good. So when we start the vessel and we move this into forward, the port side is the only one that engages forward, neutral, reverse, and the starboard side is the one that does not engage. So I'll show you what I do by swapping the plugs inside the engine room on the processor. So I move the port side to the starboard side and the starboard side to the port. And I'll show you that shortly. Okay, this is the EEC3. This is just a normal throttle and shift. Okay, now what I normally do when I go to the boat is to determine if the problem is within the gear or the harness. I normally swap the plugs out. So this is the port, this is the starboard, this is the port. So now I just move the port to the starboard and the starboard to the port. If the problem stays on the same side and does not change, then you know it's either, it has to be a transmission issue. But if the problem moves to the opposite side, now you know it's either an output issue from the processor or a cable issue. So we've already did the swap, we've already did the testing, and the problem stays on the starboard side. So I'm going to show you what we found. All right, so now we're going to go back to the starboard side transmission portion. We have to remove the air sep in order to get to it, but you could actually see that we have our connections here. This is one, and that one there is the other one. They look in bad shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these off, verify that we are getting the correct voltage to both of these while we shift and forward and reverse. And if we are, then we have to replace the solenoids. The solenoids is what's causing the issue on this. So the first thing that we do is remove this on both of them, make sure that the connections are nice and clean, and that we are receiving the proper voltage to shift the solenoids. Once we do that and we determine that, then we could go ahead and notify the customer that he has a transmission issue. But if we don't, then we know that we have a bad connection here, which we could replace these, or something happened to the harness going from this point all the way up to the processor. All right, guys, we got to our solenoid. We figured out that majority of the issue was with the connections and the conditions of the solenoid. So both solenoids actually. So in order to get to it, you have to get behind here, which I showed you. But this is what we end up pulling out. Now, I pulled out this one and this one. There was no way to actually get this plug off, unplugging it. So I had, what I had to do is I had to cut around it and get to the screw with the pliers so I could pull it off. But if you notice, look how bad this is. There's no connection on here. So this one completely is not going to shift at all because it utilizes only this pin and this pin here. This one here, I haven't even pulled it off yet, but you could actually see how bad the corrosion is on this one. The water's just dripping on here and not giving a good contact. So what I'm going to end up doing is putting new plug ends on here, cleaning everything up, and then we're going to have to locate the new solenoids. If not locating the solenoids, we'll just turn it over to the owner so that he could call a transmission specialist to do that. But most likely we'll be able to get this one corrected for you. But you could actually see how bad these are. I mean, these, it's just sitting here, water dripping on them. It's just maintenance, guys. It's all about maintenance. It's not always the engine controls. The engine controls, yes, they do have issues from time to time, but there's no way you could blame this on the controls. So I don't know what the condition is on the port side, but I know that we have to take care of this side. Definitely he needs 2 solenoids, 2 plug-ins. We're gonna go ahead and cut these off, put new ends on it, new DIN plugs on it, heat shrink it, verifying that it's watertight. But we can't prevent water from dripping on these. There's nothing that I could do. He's just gonna have to locate where the water's dripping on it, or the shaft seal is spinning and wetting the solenoids. But if you let the boat sit like this, majority of the time, this is what you're gonna find. All right, guys, we're back here at the shop. I'm using some mineral spirits. And the reason why I have the end caps for the solenoids is so I could clean off the oil debris that is actually on them. When I put them in the sandblasting booth, I don't want any of the oil contaminants mixing in with my sand. So the cleaner it is, the better it is for me. So yes, it's probably easier just to go ahead and replace these. These things are probably not the greatest shape of ever, but I mean, as you can see, they're only end caps. All they do is just hold the coil on top on the stems on the transmission. So if I could keep them and just lubricate them and put some sort of barrier protector after I blast them and put new coils on there and able to get the solenoids to work on that starboard side, then it's a win-win for the customer. If not, then we'll just go ahead and we'll replace the whole stems. The reason why I'm doing it this way is to bring down the cost a little bit. It's not only just replacing, but if one part is bad and the other part is good, I like taking that chance and letting the customer know, hey, this is what I did. If you want me to proceed forward with new ones, I can. But we're gonna go ahead and blast these, and I'll show you the new coil packs now. All right, guys, we're here in my little shop. This is my sandblasting booth. It's pretty well set up in here. I got my blasting booth, I got my lathe here, I got my knee mill here, and I also got another mill to do some of my nice work when needed. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna blast these and we're gonna see how they turn out. All right, guys, we just blasted them. I'm gonna open up the cabinet, and it's a little dusty, but you could see what they used to look like before and what they look like now. Yeah, they're pretty bad, but this is only a cap. This only serves the purpose of holding the field or the coil on the stem. So, do they sell these new? Not necessarily. Gonna get all the sand out, wash them down, and but this only holds the coil on the stem itself. So they're nice and clean. We're gonna clean them out inside there, make sure all the sand is out, and then before we even put these back in, we're gonna put some sort of lubrication or some sort of protectant barrier on them so that it'll be oily, or some sort of grease, maybe tough gel we could put around it, and it could stay like that and operate. So we're hoping that those stems are still good on the transmission, but like I said, there's my little booth. This is all I need to make sure that our customers are ready to go. So I'm going to show you the coil packs now. All right, guys, we're back here at the shop. So our caps are cleaned, and these are our new coil packs. From what we pulled out to what we're replacing these things with. This thing just sits on top, just like that. So it holds this coil pack from sliding out. All this is just a gland nut that holds this down. So gonna make sure that we protect the stem. We put some sort of lubrication inside here, and we'll put some sort of barrier protectant on the caps itself. But I have two brand new ones here, and hope and pray that we got this. So now we're ready to go ahead and put this back on the boat. All right, we're here. You know that I sandblasted these. I got them to where they'll be functional again. So before I put these back, I'm gonna put a little bit of Tef gel on them so that they don't corrode any more than what they are. All they do is just hold the solenoid on the stem of the valve. So I'm gonna put a little Tef gel around the stem inside, and then here are our new plugs. I've already showed you how the plugs came off, which were completely disgusting. They completely disintegrated in my hand. So we're putting on new coils, sandblasted caps, new seals, new plugs. If you need any of these parts, guys, just let us know in a comment or email us. We'll be more than glad to help you track these down. We have these in stock. These come in various sizes. I can let you know if we have them in stock. If we don't, all I need to know is the bore diameter and the size. So we'll be able to track those down for you too. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these on, lubricate the shafts, the stems with some Tef gel, slide these on, and then we're gonna plug these back in right here on the coils, and then we're gonna test the system. So stay tuned. For this application, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and screw the coils onto the DIN plugs here and just slide them onto the shafts. I've already lubricated the stems on these things, but these are 12-volt hydro force coils, okay? The voltage is displayed on the top, and that's the way that you want them to go in. So the top of the coil, or the top of the stem, will be here. This will be the bottom. You don't want to do it backwards, so this will be the correct way. This will be the top. Now, if you do put it in and the boat does something backwards, all you have to do is just go to the transmission and swap them, and that will correct the orientation of which way the prop is turning. Okay, I've already explained this already about the DIN plugs, the voltage, and the coils. But when you plug these things in there, you could actually change the orientation on how the cable goes in through the side. If you wanted to go from the top, if you want to go to the bottom. This is a 1, 2, 3 piece unit that when you do the actual plug and you do the repair, you could actually turn it and key it into the 4 different into the 4 different corners, however you want to do it. So if you don't have clearance, like that back there is very tight, so you want to have the DIN plugs going off to the side. I tried having them go down, and it was interfering with the block right there. So now I have to change them so that they go off to the side. So this is why you're seeing them in this fashion right now on the side. All right, I already have the new DIN plugs on the coils already, as you can see back there. So I already have the caps finger tight. If you test and they're backwards and it goes forward and it goes reverse and reverse goes forward, all you have to do is just swap them. Now also another good tip note on this is on the top, do not tighten down on them. Just finger tighten to a point that these stay stiff, because if you tighten them too much, you're gonna pull the stems and now you damage the stem and now you have to replace everything. So right now I'm gonna go upstairs and turn on the control system and test. So hopefully that this resolves the customer's issue and we could just say, job is done. All right guys, I got the engine started. They've been running for about 5 minutes already. I have them warmed up. I have not tested the system out, but we have the warm off. We'll go ahead and turn on the warm and we'll actually put them in both in gear. And now we can accelerate. So we're not moving, we're not doing anything right now. All we are is just accelerating on the throttles in warm mode. So bring it back to neutral and we're gonna test it out. So now we put the port into forward and reverse, forward, forward, reverse. So we got port side is working fine. So now we're going to test the starboard side. So now we're going to go to starboard, forward. Wow, we got movement. Forward again. We got forward. I see the prop wash in the back. Okay, so now we're gonna go to reverse. Put it in reverse. And we are going in reverse. Guys, it's a hit and miss sometimes with this. It's not always the coils or the DIN plugs all the time. It could be the solenoids itself. But in order to determine if it is working or the Glendinning is working, just swap the plugs on the transmissions on the electronic outputs. And if the problem stays on the side that's having the problem, that is the side that it is a transmission issue. But if it moves over to the other side, it's either a harness or you got a processor issue. So this is a win-win for the customer and a win-win for us. All right, guys, so this Luhrs project shifting issue is taken care of. We were able to save the solenoids, but we had to replace the coils and we had to replace the DIN plugs. The harnesses were fine. The Glendinning control system is fine. Guys, if you need any parts or you need any questions answered, please link it in our bio. Okay, you'll have all of our information there. If you have any question, just reach out and ask. You know, we've been receiving a lot of calls now from our customers. So don't be ashamed to ask. Guys, if you have any questions, let us know. Like and subscribe.